Hello and welcome to the Reds Report, powered by Barnsley Sport and part of the TalkSport network of fans. As we all learned what happened to Anton Roberts after the away match at Lincoln, it puts football in a bit of a perspective. We love our town, our club and our team, but when a football fan goes to a match and doesn't make it back home, we should all take a moment to think about their family and friends. Our deepest condolences go to everyone that knew Anton, and we hope everyone gets behind the initiative to shine a light on 61 minutes to remember him on Saturday. Plenty to talk about today, though. 2 matches been and gone, Forest Green Rovers and Lincoln. There's a lot to go through. So the 2 experts are in the house again. First of all, from the Tykes vlog, we have Ian. Evening, Ian.
There's nobody in our house. I don't know what you're on about.
Evening, Ian. He's on the wine.
It's Friday in my house. I've finished for the weekend.
Oh,
hey.
Yeah.
You only work part-time anyway, don't you?
Oh, that's rich.
At least you don't go to the golf course.
Anyway, all right, we'll leave it there then, boys. Let's not start throwing stones straight away then, eh? Okay.
And our second expert, it's Steve Andros. Steve, good evening. What are you drinking?
Good evening. Yes, good evening. Yes. No, I've not been working today, funnily enough, so there you go. You were right.
Golfing?
I'm working tomorrow, though.
Oh, right. Are you golfing?
I was today.
Yeah. Working from home, yeah?
Possibly.
Lads, it was a little bit of the good, the bad and the ugly, wasn't it? Forest Green Rovers first. I mean, Forest Green, let's get this out. We didn't relegate Forest Green Rovers. They were bottom of the table. The table doesn't lie. They just haven't been good enough. It just happened to be that mathematically they are no longer able to climb out of the bottom 3. So they were relegated after a 5-1 beating by Barnsley. Tedic, 2 goals by Steve's favourite player, Adam Phillips, Norwood and Cole. Ian, is it fair to say that we never really got out of second or third gear in that one? Because everything pretty much went to plan, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like the Cheltenham away game, wasn't it? The one, was it 4-0 there? I think score early. Could have been, we all thought it might be a potential banana skin in the last podcast. It had the potential for it. But you score early, get a foothold in the game, and just dictate play from there, didn't they? Once you got the second, it was always going to be over. And we might have, I'm not sure, looking at the fixtures, we might even have a chance to relegate MK Dons as well, might we, at this rate? Play them in a week or so.
Yeah.
Haven't we already relegated Wigan as well? Oh, they're not in the same league as us, though, are they? But I think we have. Yeah. That'll be our fault.
Steve, goal scorers. We talked about Adam Phillips. He got a couple again.
Well, he didn't, though, did he? He didn't get a couple. He got 1.5. Because that's probably the worst penalty you'll see this year. It was an absolute disgrace. I could hit it harder with me, whatever, than he kicked it. Absolute. You know what?
After going 4.5 years without a penalty or whatever it was, I mean, Duff was saying they didn't even really have a nominated penalty taker. It came down, I think, between Norwood and Adams, and Norwood and gave it. Would you rather have a striker take a penalty when you get awarded one, or is it sort of like anybody ever?
No, I just want somebody who can kick ball. To be quite honest, it doesn't have to be a striker as long as you've got somebody who can make a clean contact. And can actually put it where he wants to put it, but at the same time have the same, mentality to keep calm, level head on his shoulders sort of thing. That's sort of player that should be taking your penalties. And I'm not saying Phillips isn't that one, but that were a shocking penalty.
Yeah, and
absolute,
I think, afterwards in the interview, Ian, he sort of said that wasn't one of his better ones. He got the rebound, so it went in. A long wait for the penalty, but I'm sure they'll be training on those on a Wednesday and a Thursday as they prepare for the next match. Obviously, Cadden's out. Can we have a quick look back on how I feel Lacache has done in that position? It's a difficult role to fill, isn't it? Because Cadden was just sort of coming into his own a little bit. That starting position every single time. He likes his runs forward, good understanding with mainly sort of like Liam Kitchen now on that side. How is Lacache sort of deputising in that role, do you feel?
I don't think he's done a right lot wrong, to be fair. And you've got to remember the lad's been training and playing through Ramadan as well, hasn't he? which cannot be easy. So I think fair play to him. He's been steady. I would say 6.5, 7 out of 10 maybe. I don't think he's done a great deal wrong. I think generally we missed that Cadden's burst. They are two different players. Cadden really does burst down that wing. And we're talking about penalty takers. I'd like to see Cadden be our penalty taker. He's got a sweet left foot with them crosses. I think he could stick a pen away. But I think Jordan Williams hasn't been himself these last couple of weeks. On the right hand side, we've not been bombing down, not away from home anyway. But talking to Larketch, I think fair play. He's come in, took his chance. I'd still probably, when Cadden's available, Cadden will come straight back in the team. But he's not done a lot wrong in my eyes. I think he's done quite well, and given the circumstances as well, with him fasting, etc. I think fair play to the lad.
Yeah. Just talking about, because you just mentioned it, I had it as a sort of next topic. I don't know how they arrange it, but it was good to see and quite good. Obviously, in the Lincoln match, there was like a little stoppage for him, wasn't there? As soon as there was sunset, he could take in, a drink and some an energy gel or whatever it was. It was, the Forest Green was good for our goal difference because, as scores go, you look at the team above you. At that point, it was Wednesday, but 2 points difference, you win 5-1. I mean, that's another +4, which is really good. It's good for confidence as well, isn't it? Because we know that at home we've been, I dare say, superb, fantastic home form. But away, we can struggle. So you get a 5-1 victory, absolutely fantastic. A few days later, you've got Lincoln. Now, Steve, Lincoln was always going to be a different proposition. It was always going to be harder. It was a draw specialist. They'd not lost many points against sort of like top 4 sides. Is it fair to say that, in my opinion, it just felt we approached that whole game different as well? I think at Forest Green, we played to our strengths, and it seemed to have been a bit of a game plan probably like Bristol, where we get the ball and we almost bypass our midfield to try and just look if Cole can get to it, or Norwood, or whoever is up front. How would you sort of surmise our playing style, our plan, our DNA, whatever you want to call it, in the 0-0 at Lincoln?
First and foremost, before I say what I'm going to say, I will say that at the start of the season, if we'd have said we were being near enough guaranteed a playoff place, I would have taken it. So you can't knock them for where we are now. But Lincoln, Bristol City, Exeter, they're all games that we should be winning, personally, if we play like we can play and like we play at home. Yet we go away, and Forest Green were just, I think, a bit of an anomaly, to be quite honest. And our Wednesday massive loss down there, I've no idea, but there you go. But Lincoln just shows, I think, that we seem to be struggling again for a plan B. We play some nice football at home. We play some nice football at times away. But for some reason, when we play away, I don't know whether we're scared, but balls red hot. There's nobody gets hold of it. There's nobody tries to control it. We seem to be knocking long balls up to Norwood and Cole. Some of them balls they knocked up on Tuesday night were, they ain't got a prayer. But then it makes them look bad. So then you get your keyboard warriors out that's saying, oh, Cole's this, Cole's that, Norwood's this, Norwood's that. They were getting no service whatsoever. Midfield, Phillips scored 2 on Saturday, yeah, fair enough. But yet again, he were missing for most of the game. I'm not saying he don't get up with a goal now and again, and it's a really good goal, but he's not a 90-minute player. He might run about and people say, oh, yeah, he does ugly stuff. But that's what Connell's there for. Connell does it so much better. What you need from Phillips is more composure, more control. Kane, I thought, had a poor game against Lincoln. For a similar sort of thing. Whatever he were trying didn't work. There was no quality in passing. And for the first time, Bobby Thomas were shocking. against Lincoln, some of that passing, I've seen 6-year-old kids pass ball better than that. I've seen I don't know if it were a shot or a cross or what it were in second half, and it's still travelling. And it's stuff like that for me. We talk about wanting to go up, we talk about promotion, but you've also got to think, yeah, we're in a good position and we've done really, really well. And these guys, don't knock them for one game. I get that, totally get that. But if we do go up, I worry that we are not good enough because we haven't got a plan B or a plan C. We don't seem to be able to change things. And making 3 and 4 subs at a time, I think, just upsets everything. Anyway, that's me done. Cheers, lads. See you later.
And something you said there, which I noted down, it felt at Lincoln, for whatever reason, that the front two were sort of feeding off scraps again. We've talked about this before. And when I looked, we talked about that weeks and weeks ago, and then he sort of changed that formation a little bit with Cadden down one side, Williams down the other side, and there was just a far better, supply going into that final third. Is it fair to say that because of the Cadden red card, Larkesh maybe defensively is more defence minded because he doesn't seem to have that turn of pace to go past and whip a ball in, whereas Cadden gets the assist and he doesn't. Is that being disrespectful to Larkesh, or is it actually saying with Cadden we might have had a few more? And I know you can't because he had a red card, but I just felt that when Williams was off it, Larkesh is just not Cadden, and he can't help that. He's a different type of player. It just felt we had to go long. Ian, how do you see it? Because I found it really, really, really frustrating to watch. And I'm with Steve. I would have taken 6 and get in the playoff. I would. It just seems that we're capable of doing so much better. But especially these away matches, when teams set up for a draw or not to concede a goal, we find it really hard to break them down.
Yeah, I echo everything Steve says. I think he's absolutely spot on. The thing with Larkesh, yes, we are better when Cadden's in there and he's bombing on, but that is not the issue. I think we've played poorly away with Cadden in the side. You look at, like Steve said, it started with Bristol Rovers, it's Burton, it's Exeter, it's Lincoln. When we're at home, we've won 8 in a row and we're absolutely flowing. We're playing some good football as well, and we're absolutely steamrolling sides. And nobody's come to Oakwell recently with a plan to stop us. Shrewsbury tried to rough us up, didn't work. Sheffield Wednesday tried to attack us. We scored 4 against them. But away from home, some of these clubs have decided to alter their style or whatever they've done, and they've got in our faces and they've unsettled us, and they've realised that our midfield can normally, certainly 2 of the 3, can knock it about, and that's our real sort of engine room. That's where we're going to put balls through for Cole and Norwood. And they're making it very difficult for our midfield, and we're not having that plan B, so we're going long. And Kitchen, who would normally, with his long diagonal balls that would always go down to Jordan Williams or whatever, they were going right out of play against Lincoln. They were all off with the passing. I just, like Steve says, those sides we've mentioned away from home have set up in such a way that we've been scratching our heads and we've not worked them out. At Oakwell, we can. We just seem to purr at home. But away from home, them 4 games, definitely. I mean, in between that, are Cheltenham and Forest Green. Well, they're anomalies. And we've wiped the floor with them. They've been poor sides. But the other ones, we've just not had a plan B. And we've gone long and we look woeful. You could put any 2 up top and it wouldn't matter because they're feeding off scraps. You could have put Tedic, you could have put Waters, you could put anybody up there. They were in the same boat, and it was just painful to watch. And I think we were messaging each other, and it was like 90 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Granted, you take a step back and you look at the whole season, and to be a goal difference of plus 36 is fantastic. 8 wins on the bounce at Oakwell, 25 games won, 82 points amassed already with 4 games to spare. You just have to applaud what Duff and the players have done. But there's this reoccurring theme at the minute where we've gone to so-called lesser sides away from home, and they've had a plan to stop us, and it's worked, and we've not had a plan B.
It's funny, isn't it? Because there's that stark contrast of, you just said 8 at home, unbeaten, fantastic. Out of the last 6 away games, we've got 8 points. I mean, so is it that away? It's a bit like us. So away, we might have the same players in the same positions, but it just feels better. I don't know if it's the crowd or whatever. I mean, it probably makes the difference, doesn't it, Steve, between going up automatic or into the mix of the playoffs. And don't get me wrong, I am extremely happy that we're in that mix for the playoffs. Would have rather have gone up automatic, but is it fair to say that it's probably our away form that, playoffs is our destination, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, we're near enough nailed on for a playoff place now. That second automatic, I think, is gone, to be quite honest. And I don't think, don't worry about it. Like you said, we didn't expect being here where we are. So let's not worry about that second spot. Let's concentrate on the next 4 games, just to consolidate where we are. I think he ought to perhaps start looking after players as well. Because if it looks as though we're going to have to play 3 extra games at end of season, we want as strong a side as we can possibly have. I totally agree with Ian about Jordan Williams. Jordan Williams has been poor for the last few games. For me, I mean, he keeps saying that Barry Cotter's, he's ready, he's chomping at bit, wanting to go. Let's have another look at him. Let's get him in, because Jordan Williams needs a kick up backside, because that play, we don't see who's threatening that right back position. And I don't think Jordan Williams does. I think he's quite happy to get up on a Saturday morning knowing he's got a shirt. And I think that's got to change.
Let's look. Sorry.
No, go on. No, you're all right. Go on. Sorry, I'm just watching because I've got Villarreal and Man U on, because
of course you're
quite exciting.
Barnsley are in 4th at the moment, 82 points. Wednesday are above us in 3rd on 87, having played a match more. Below us, Peterborough 73, and then Bolton and Derby both on 72. So, how do you look at this, Ian? Do you say, we're in the playoffs, right? It's almost guaranteed. I think if you win Saturday, it's guaranteed. Do you then look and start saving some players for these playoffs, or do you say, no, we need to keep playing because that winning mentality? We're not, by resting him, we're not going, because if you go to the playoffs, you've got an away match again, haven't you? So do you say, we're going to look at maybe your Kane and your Connells or whatever and say, we're going to give them a rest because we need them ready? Or do you say, no, this is our first 11. They need to be playing, and they need to be playing more together in order to win both home and away to guarantee us a trip to Oakwell South?
It's a tough one. You want to keep the form going and players match sharp, but you don't want to risk injuries. I think there was the form table, Ipswich and Plymouth, even though Plymouth had a couple of dodgy results after that, losing that final, they're still up there in one of the form teams. And although Wednesday are only a point off second, I still fancy Ipswich and Plymouth to take the 2 automatics. And I think Wednesday have wobbled and will end up in the playoffs. We're not likely to get caught by Peterborough, because if we're going to pretty much stay 4th, aren't we? Which then, I don't know whether that means we get 6th. Is that how I can't remember how it works. Is it?
Yeah. So
3rd, 6th, 4th and 5th.
4th and 5th. So at the minute would be Peterborough, but they're only a point clear of Bolton, and Bolton's got a game in hand. So 3rd place 6th, is it? And 4th and 5th play. Yeah. So I think we're gonna. It's not like we could weaken the team and rest players, and we're still going to come 4th. We're not going to get caught, are we? And drop to 5th or anything like that. So you've got an idea who you're going to play, but it's a dangerous game because you want to keep form. I can see a couple of changes on Saturday because it's home to Oxford, and I know Duff's saying they're fighting for their lives and stuff. They're playing awful. They barely score. I've looked at the recent results. It's 0s and 1s that they get. Luke Thomas was on the doing all the questions and stuff, so there's a good chance he'll play. That's usually a giveaway. I think he might just mix up slightly and then play a strong team against Ipswich, and then maybe the last 2 reassess it. Get that playoff spot confirmed. These next 2, I think he'll play strong sides, and it won't be surprised then. Milton Keynes away, Peterborough at home, whether he then is tactical and maybe rest a Norwood, rest a Cole, maybe rest a Connell. Not a mass change, but key men, wrap them up a bit.
Yeah. Do you have a preference, Steve? If you look at the playoffs, so if you look realistically, so as it stands out, I mean, Bolton and Peterborough or Derby, it's of those three, isn't it? It's two of those three. Bolton, we've played before a couple of times earlier this season. Well, obviously we've played all of them twice, but we played them in the other cup as well. Is the one that you stand out saying, I want to avoid them? Or do you say, actually, we can beat anybody on our day? Do you have a preference?
Well, I could be diplomatic and say, you've got to play one of them three anyway, or two of them three anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference in what order you play them. My personal preference is stay away from Sheffield Wednesday. I really don't want to play them. I'd rather play them in the home and away legs.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
I'd rather play them in home and away leg and not at Wembley. I certainly don't want to play Wednesday at Wembley. Not at all, because it's just our luck that South Yorkshire would be empty that afternoon because everybody's in Wembley. Because there'll be millions and millions of Wednesday fans flying in from all over the world. We know that. And we've beaten them twice. And it's nailed on the fact that they would beat us at Wembley. I don't care what anybody says. For me, that it'd be nailed on. And I don't want that. I would be so disappointed with that.
Ian, how do you view
that? See, I don't want to play Bolton because all my neighbours are Bolton fans. But a mate of mine who's a season ticket holder, he said, I was saying about, a couple of the away results and stuff like that. And he said, I don't want to play you lot. Absolutely don't want to play it. Barnsley, the form team of the ones in the playoffs. Nobody wants to play us. I don't know. It's the devil in the deep blue sea, isn't it, really? I think it's going to be tough. I do think at home, whoever we get in the two-leg, I think the way our home form has been, I think Oakwell will be full. I think that will be quite a special, especially if it's a night game. I think that'll be quite a special one, that. I don't. It's a tough one to call. It really is. I would probably say a Peterborough maybe the lesser, dare I say, of the sides because they've come late on. They've not been around. Whereas Bolton's been there all season, like we have. Wednesday have obviously been up there all season. Peterborough have been a bit poor and then just come with a bit of a run. Is that fair to say? I mean, we won down there, didn't we? And we played quite well, but then we've not. We play them last game at season, don't we? You watch. We'll play them last game at season, and then 2 games it plays. We'll play them 3 times in about a fortnight.
And if we play them at home, they'll just be playing the ball to each other for 90 minutes because we're both happy where we are in the playoffs and fancy our chances. The way we relegated them against Huddersfield, wasn't it? And you talked. Well, you both talked earlier about maybe fringe players. I mean, Steve, you married Barry Cotter. I mean, he played for the under 23s, I believe, earlier in. What are the ones? For instance, would you look at? Would you put Collins back in goal? Would you give Cundy a chance?
Man. Smoking again, aren't you? Stop it.
Is Martin coming back on? What other fringe players?
You're on drugs. Why? Why would you bring Martin? God, I'm going to send him back. Yeah. God, what a pile of shite he were.
Well, no, he's still here. It's just a lone rule, isn't it? You can only have 5 in your squad, so he just happened to drop out. But is there any other? You talked about Barry Cotter. Any other fringe players that you think might as well have a look at them? Maybe against Peterborough or whatever, if we know where we're going to finish, because a bit of match sharpness and to have a look what you got on the bench.
I would be interested. I don't know if you'll know this. Ian might, because he's been on part-time this week and he's drinking red wine, so he'll be able to answer this question. Mads Anderson's had a yellow card last 2 or 3 games. Is he close to suspension? Do we know? Because he's been booked. Was he being booked in the last 2 games or last 3 games? I can't remember.
There was something, weren't it? Was it the 30? The Exeter game was something like, was it the 37th or whatever?
That was the line, wasn't it?
That was the line, so I don't know whether it's kind of like refreshed now. I think if you had up to 10 yellows, I think you had 10 yellows by the 37th game, was it, or something?
Yeah. Because that's the only thing that worries me at minute is because
he's lost his rag a few games, hasn't he, Anderson?
Well, he's been back. For me, he's been beaten a couple of times, and both times basically he's been beaten by pace. And so his rugby tackled them to ground. So, sometimes it's a deserving yellow card, fair enough. But if there's one player you don't want to lose, especially for playoffs, it would be Anderson. So, I mean, if he is close, do you perhaps give him a rest? Problem being then, who do you bring in as a centre half? And do you know what I mean?
No. Everybody's nodding no.
But you see,
No.
this to me now epitomises where we are in as a team, because we haven't actually got that much quality in depth. Because what's coming off bench? Not that much, really.
It's strikers, isn't it? Because you normally got Tedic on the bench.
Well, we've got two strikers. You've got Waters. You've got
Luke Thomas
Tedic.
is usually on there.
You've got Luke Thomas, which is, normally you've got Lakesh, which we've said, earlier on, he can do a job. Slightly different mentality to Cadden, unless he's being told differently by Duff that he don't want him bombing outside, because that's something else. He could have said to him, look, I don't want you bombing outside like Cannon does. I want you to just defend. But after that, same as with midfield, who is there? Benson's not doing out.
No.
Cundy we don't like. Sorry, Cundy you don't like. Collins I'm not particularly inspired by. Martin's a waster of shirt. I don't care what anybody says.
And John Russell's not quite.
John Russell's not ready. No. Not ready at all.
Ollie Shaw?
Well, apparently there was something. Auntie give him a bit of an ultimatum or something, Duff. I'd give him 2 or 3 hours. I saw it Yorkshire Post or something. I didn't read it because I can't read it very well. And I'm sure it's Ollie Shaw and Martin and what have you that he's given an ultimatum to. I know what ultimatum I'd have given him, but there you go. But Ollie Shaw's just not stepped up at all. And we bought him, didn't we? Didn't we buy Ollie Shaw?
Yeah.
He's not on loan, is he?
No.
2-year deal.
So 3 year, 3 months at this rate. If he's not consummating, get him out. That's right. That's what they're doing, isn't it? But no, I just don't see depth. You tell me who else there is.
I think up front, I think Luke Thomas. I think Luke Thomas, if he's on the bench, he can make a difference. He runs at him, and you could change them to 3 up front almost with him playing sort of like wide. You've got Waters and Tedic probably that can, we know what they can do. I like Tedic. I've not seen enough of him, I think. I wish we'd seen more of him, but it is what it is. But I agree. I think in defence, would Jasper Moon will be able to play, would he? Because the season's not over, is it? Season-long loan. Season's not over, is it?
Would you want him to play, though?
Well,
bearing in mind what we've seen before, where is that a better option to what we've got? Maybe in under 23s.
I mean, if you talk about under the bench, well, who have you got under 23s? Because none of them are making the bench at the moment. Under 18s are, they won their league. Fantastic. Not happened at Barnsley before. So, Nicky Eden, the whole team, credit, well done. There is that winning mentality going through the whole club again, which is good. I just looked at it and I thought, that would worry me. If Kitchen goes off, if Thomas goes off, and Anderson goes off with an injury, that's exchanging your BMW for a 10-year-old Fiat Punto.
I think if you had an injury crisis, you could bring him back off his loan. I don't think they're going to bring him back just because to put him on the bench or anything. And you've got to be a bit careful because obviously some players fit in well at clubs. He didn't quite fit in here. He's done all right. He's done well at Burton, but so did Adebayo. And I know he scored for Bolton against Burton the other night, but from what people are telling me, he's not done a right lot since he landed in January, and he's gone back to that type again of Adebayo who tries hard but hasn't really got the quality. So what's to say Moon doesn't come back and end up being the Moon that he was?
True. Right, let's look first then at home Saturday. Oxford, we've talked about them struggling, still a chance of going down. Score forecast, Mr. Andrews, and who will score first for Barnsley? Is this going to be another 3-4-5, score line for Barnsley, or do you see going different?
Ian said that Oxford's scoring history this last few games has been really, really poor.
Yeah,
they've not scored very many, so I'm going to go 3 apiece. No, I think, yeah, at home. I don't know why. I wish if I could put my finger on it, I'd make millions. We're a different team at home. I think it'd be a 2-0. And I think James Norwood will bag one on Saturday.
I'll go 4-1, Devante Cole.
I'll go 4-0, Devante Cole.
Ooh, thank God I got in there just before. And I just want to spend, because obviously we'll record next week. There's not really as much importance probably now to the Ipswich match, but it will be for me a really good measurement of how good we are. And I know that sounds really, really silly, but the last team to come to Oakwell that did really well was Sheffield Wednesday. We saw a bit with them. Ipswich are the form team. Absolutely amazing what they've done. That manager was an assistant to all these others, and he's done, miracles. So good luck to them, but not on Tuesday.
Let's bear in mind they've got some coin though, because they've got big crowd. They've still got the big crowds coming in, and they've thrown a lot of money at it. Do you know what I mean? So you're back to level playing field again, and it's a funny in that they'll get caught out another 12 months, 18 months. It'll all come out that they've done fair play thing and they've spent too much money or something like that, and they'll get three points docked for 2026 season.
Ian, 5,000 Ipswich fans. They sold the away end. They sold it out. Tuesday night match. How do you see that one going? And who's going to score first? For Barnsley, of course.
I see a 1-1 draw, and could be anyone, couldn't it? I'll go Norwood.
I'll go for a 2-1 win, late winner by Luke Thomas. Steve.
2-0. Chaplin with a brace.
Oh.
There you go. There you go. Really? That one. All you doubters out there, because I really think that second spot's gone, and you know what? I think Ipswich will come and just steamroller us. I really do. It depends which Barnsley team turns up, and I don't know. I doubt it at the minute.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because this weekend, Ipswich are away at Peterborough, which you could say with Peterborough still sort of like fighting. That could be a tricky one for Ipswich potentially. And I'm just looking and Wednesday are at home to Exeter. So Wednesday at home, it's the game in hand that Ipswich has got as well. So if they really want to cement that second place, I mean, at this moment in time, they're a point above Wednesday. That could be 4 if they mirror each other's results on Saturday, but then they'll want to win Monday to make it 4. So it's for them, I suppose that there's still quite a bit to play for. It's different for us. I just think at home we look more relaxed, and maybe it's my TV. I don't know, but I think on some of the smaller pitches, we seem to. And I know there's not much difference, but some of the more narrow, smaller pitches, especially, I just feel like we struggle. And I don't know what it is about Oakwell, but they walk out, and you can literally think Man City. Well, maybe not Man City, but anybody could come and we would give them a game. And we don't seem to win 1-0 or 2-0 at home. We do 4-0, 5. You know what I mean? So, yeah, an interesting one. Playoffs it is, regardless, isn't it? Just want to quickly mention as well that besides the 61st minute for Anton Roberts, on the 56th minute, Barnsley fan Andy Scales passed away. He was suffering with cancer. Well loved, obviously, by family, friends, and everybody sat around him. So there'll be 2 tributes for the fans to take part in, 56th minute and the 61st minute. Lads, this time next week, I think our fate will be properly decided. I think the Ipswich one, the result doesn't really matter to us. I think it's a really good indicator of where we are, and I think that to me feels like that could be like the first leg of a playoff, because we're going to play a team that obviously deserves to be there. Let's see where we are next week. Ian, as always, thank you very much. Just let everybody know again how and where we can find you. Not your address, because Steve will stalk, but mainly on your socials.
I already know where it is. Don't worry about that. Nice curtains you've got up in your bedroom, mate, by the way. But anyway, let's not talk about that.
Got a spy camera.
He's outside in the van.
I'm not. I'm upstairs.
Ian, just quickly before you give me your social, keep an eye on your wife, because if Steve's upstairs, you know what he's like.
No, she's in kitchen. She's getting tea ready.
Oh, right, okay. Where can we find you on your socials?
Find us at tykesblog.com and mainly on Twitter at tykes_blog.
Fantastic. Steve, do you want to tell everybody your handle on Twitter so they can give you more abuse?
But it's on Twitter, but please feel free to abuse me as much as you want. I couldn't care less. I shall still be sat in my kitchen with my big clock. With my big clock. Not your no. Have you got a big clock in your kitchen? Clock, I said. Clock. Clock.
I thought you were in my house.
Why have you got a big clock?
On that note,
What she said.
Covered in piss.
You've been listening to the Retro Report. We are sponsored by Barnsley Sport and part of the TalkSport network of fans. This is the Retro Report, longest running Barnsley FC podcast. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You Reds.